At the beginning of the drama, we are introduced to the cute female lead. Her real name is quite long, so for convenience, we'll call her Belle. Belle lives in a small village in the Philippines with her grandmother and uncle. When she was only 11 years old, her mother passed away. Since then, she has been living with her grandmother and uncle in this peaceful village. The family runs a small food business. Belle's grandmother cooks delicious meals, while Belle delivers the food to customers' homes. This simple routine has become Belle's everyday life, and despite not having much, she is quite happy with it. One day, after returning home, Belle's grandmother tells her that her father had called. According to him, he wants Belle to come to Manila and continue her studies there. Hearing this, Belle immediately refuses. She tells her grandmother to inform that man that she has no intention of going. It is obvious that Belle doesn't have a good relationship with her father. However, her grandmother suddenly becomes emotional and reminds Belle that her late mother always wanted her daughter to study in a good school. Since there aren't many educational opportunities in their village, she encourages Belle to leave for Manila. Even though Belle doesn't want to go, she eventually agrees because she doesn't want to disappoint her grandmother. The next day is Belle's departure day, and everyone is emotional. Her grandmother and friends are trying their best not to cry as they say goodbye to her. While Belle and her uncle are on their way to the airport, they get into a small accident. Belle only suffers minor injuries, but the driver gets hurt more seriously. Naturally, Belle becomes furious at the person responsible for the accident. But the moment the driver of the other car steps out, all her anger mysteriously disappears. Standing there is an incredibly handsome young man. This is Dev, the male lead of our drama. Dev is trying to get Belle's attention, but she is completely lost in his good looks. Finally, Dev says, "Just tell me how much money you need. I'll compensate you and leave because I'm in a hurry." The moment Belle hears the word money, she snaps back to reality. She angrily tells him, "You caused an accident and now you're talking about money? Who asked for money? Take this injured man to the hospital first." Dev, however, doesn't seem interested in arguing. He says that it wasn't his fault because the other vehicle was driving on the wrong side of the road. He tells her to take the money if she wants it, otherwise he's leaving. And with that, he drives away. This leaves Belle completely furious, and she starts yelling insults at him as he disappears from sight. Anyway, after a lot of trouble, Belle finally reaches the airport. Her uncle is also emotional because Belle is leaving after spending so many years with them. Soon, she boards the plane and arrives in Manila. At the airport, Belle finally meets her father after many years. Usually, seeing a parent after such a long time would be an emotional moment, but Belle doesn't feel anything. Their relationship was never good, so there isn't much warmth between them. Her father takes her home, where we are introduced to his second wife and their daughter Luna. Judging from their expressions, it's pretty obvious that neither of them is happy to see Belle. The following day, Luna takes Belle to school. It turns out Belle's father has already arranged her admission there. On the way, Luna coldly tells Belle not to talk to her at school. She doesn't want anyone to know that they are sisters. Hearing this, Belle is quite surprised. Later, the principal calls Belle into the office and introduces her to a friendly girl named Anna. Anna quickly takes Belle around the school and introduces her to the rest of her friends. Among them are Tara and Xavier. While they are talking, a famous group called Alpha 3 enters the school. They are extremely popular, and the moment they arrive, girls start running everywhere just to catch a glimpse of them. The leader of Alpha 3 is none other than Dev himself. Yes, the same arrogant guy from the accident. Anna and Tara try to show Dev and his gang to Belle, but unfortunately she trips and falls before she can even see him properly. Later, while everyone is in the cafeteria, a girl approaches Dev with a poster. She tells him that she wants him and Kim to get back together. The poster contains several photos of Dev and Kim together. The moment Dev sees it, he becomes furious. Apparently, Kim is his ex-girlfriend, and it's a topic he absolutely hates discussing. He immediately warns the girl that if she ever brings up Kim again, he will report her to the principal. Not only that, but he even shoves her away. Seeing this makes Belle extremely angry. She decides she needs to teach this rude guy a lesson, but before she can confront him, she accidentally embarrasses herself and nearly falls. Finally, Dev and Belle come face to face again. Both of them are shocked to recognize each other. Belle immediately starts scolding him for mistreating that girl. However, Dev misunderstands the situation completely. Since they already argued after the accident, he assumes Belle has come looking for compensation money. Without saying much, Dev hands her his bank card and says, "Take whatever amount you need." This only makes Belle even angrier. She cannot believe how arrogant this guy is. So without wasting another second, she punches Dev right in the face. And seeing the leader of Alpha 3 getting punched by a new girl leaves everyone around them absolutely shocked. After Belle punched Dev, the entire incident quickly spread across social media. Everyone in school was talking about it. One of Dev's friends, Lee, was especially impressed. He told Dev that the girl definitely had courage and even asked if he already knew her from somewhere. However, Dev didn't answer any of their questions. Meanwhile, Anna and Tara were desperately trying to convince Belle not to mess with Dev anymore. They explained that Dev was one of the most influential students in the school, and fighting with him would only create problems. But Belle wasn't interested in listening to their warnings. A little later, Luna and her two friends arrived and started scolding Belle for hitting Dev. Naturally, Belle became angry, but somehow she managed to control herself and avoided creating another scene. Soon, everyone headed to their classrooms. The seat Belle chose happened to be Dev's seat. The students immediately warned her and told her to sit somewhere else, but Belle refused to move. Just then, Dev entered the classroom. The moment he saw Belle sitting in his place, he ordered a couple of boys to move her to the back. Hearing this made Belle furious, and before long, another huge argument broke out between them. The funny thing was that Dev could never seem to win an argument against Belle. No matter what he said, she always had a comeback ready. Eventually, Dev got so frustrated that he simply stormed out of the classroom. After classes ended, Anna and Tara once again tried to make Belle understand that constantly fighting with Dev wasn't a good idea. But Belle continued talking badly about him without realizing that Dev was standing nearby and listening to everything. Hearing her words, Dev slowly walked closer to her. Belle immediately said, "What now? Are you here to start another fight?" But surprisingly, Dev didn't say anything. Instead, he just stared at her. At that exact moment, another student accidentally bumped into Dev from behind. Because of the sudden push, Dev fell forward, and he and Belle ended up having what looked like a kiss. Everyone around them was instantly shocked. However, it wasn't actually a lip-to-lip kiss. A sheet of paper happened to be between their faces the entire time. Embarrassed, Belle quickly pushed Dev away. But before leaving, Dev stepped closer again and said, "Get ready to fall in love with me." The moment Belle heard that, she immediately replied, "Me? Fall in love with you? That's impossible. No matter how hard you try, I'll never like you." After hearing her response, Dev looked confused and said, "Hello, miss. I wasn't talking to you." It turned out the paper between them had the words, "Get ready to fall in love" written on it, and Dev had simply been reading the text aloud. Unfortunately, Belle thought he was talking to her. Realizing her mistake, she became incredibly embarrassed. Before long, news of their accidental kiss spread across social media as well. Most of the girls in school started criticizing Belle because they were jealous that she had gotten so close to the school's most popular boy. Meanwhile, Anna and Tara couldn't stop teasing her. They kept asking, "So tell us, how did it feel when the most popular guy in school kissed you?" Belle immediately denied everything. "What are you talking about? There wasn't any kiss. Didn't you see the paper between us?" On the other hand, Dev's friends were teasing him too. They joked, "That was your first kiss, right? So how did it feel?" Dev acted completely unaffected and said, "I didn't feel anything. She wants to challenge me? Fine. I'll show her what happens when someone messes with me." Later, Belle went to a cafe with Anna, Tara, and Xavier. Coincidentally, the cafe owner was looking for a part-time employee. Since Belle wanted to earn some money, she immediately volunteered and got the job. Meanwhile, we see Dev visiting a hospital. There, we are introduced to Dev's older brother, who has been in a coma for quite some time. We also meet Dev's mother. However, his mother doesn't speak warmly to him at all. The reason is that something terrible happened to Dev's brother in the past, and somehow Dev blames himself for it. Because of this incident, he carries a lot of guilt in his heart. To make things even worse, neither his mother nor his father treats him kindly anymore. As a result, Dev often feels lonely despite being surrounded by people. The details of what happened in the past will be revealed later in the story. On the other side, after finishing her part-time job, Belle was returning home with her friends when they ran into her father near the gate. To everyone's surprise, Belle referred to her own father as Uncle. Hearing this, her father looked visibly shocked. Anna and the others recognized him as Luna's father and started talking to him. For a moment, Belle's father wanted to tell them that he was Belle's father too, but after looking at Belle, he simply nodded and said that he was Luna's father. The group then became curious and asked Belle if that meant she and Luna were cousins. Belle simply replied, "Yeah." After saying goodbye, her friends left. Belle's father immediately realized that Luna must have forced Belle to hide her identity at school. Because of this, he later scolded Luna severely. Naturally, Luna became even more angry at Belle and started blaming her for everything. Meanwhile, Dev was alone watching the video of his accidental kiss with Belle that had gone viral online. Interestingly, while watching it, he couldn't help smiling. No matter how much Dev claimed that he felt nothing after the incident, it was becoming pretty obvious that Belle had already started occupying a small corner of his heart. The next day, Dev was at the basketball court when he spotted Belle wearing her school uniform. And honestly, Belle looked incredibly pretty. For a few moments, Dev couldn't take his eyes off her. Noticing him staring, Belle immediately asked, "What happened? Are you planning to kiss me again or something?" Belle notices Dev staring at her on the basketball court, so she immediately teases him and says, "What happened? Are you planning to kiss me again?" Dev smirks and replies, "And what if I do kiss you?" Without missing a beat, Belle says, "Then you'll have to make me your girlfriend." Dev quickly responds, "But I don't like you." Belle confidently says, "That's okay. Slowly you'll start liking me, and eventually you'll fall in love with me too." Hearing this, Dev pulls Belle closer. He slowly leans in as if he's actually about to kiss her. But just before their lips can meet, a girl suddenly appears and interrupts them. This girl is Kim, Dev's ex-girlfriend. Kim immediately asks Dev, "What do you think you're doing?" At that point, Belle calls Dev crazy and punches him right in the face. And then, Dev suddenly wakes up. The entire scene was just a dream. Realizing that he had dreamed about Belle, Dev becomes quite surprised. After all, why would she suddenly appear in his dreams? The next day, Dev arrives at school and orders his followers to bully Belle. Soon, everyone starts treating her badly and trying to make her uncomfortable. Naturally, Belle gets angry, but since she is outnumbered, she can't really do much about it. After school, Dev and his friends are hanging out together while watching the videos involving Belle that have been spreading online. At that moment, Yukiro says something unexpected. He comments that Belle doesn't look ugly at all. In fact, he thinks she's actually very pretty. Ran immediately tells him that there must be something wrong with his eyes. But Lee agrees with Yukiro and says that Belle is genuinely beautiful. He even claims that she is prettier than Dev's ex-girlfriend Kim. Interestingly, after hearing that, Dev doesn't get angry. Instead, he quietly smiles. The following day, Dev and his friends come up with yet another plan to bully Belle. At the time, Belle is peacefully sleeping in the classroom. Dev slowly walks closer and starts looking at her sleeping face from a very short distance. Seeing this, his friends immediately begin teasing him. Feeling embarrassed, Dev gives Ran a signal. Ran understands immediately and sticks chewing gum into Belle's hair. A little later, Belle wakes up and notices the disaster that has happened to her hair. It doesn't take her long to figure out who is responsible. Meanwhile, Dev and his friends are standing nearby laughing at her. But instead of crying or panicking, Belle shocks everyone. She grabs a pair of scissors and simply cuts off the damaged part of her hair. Everyone is left speechless. In fact, throughout the entire day, every plan Dev comes up with ends in failure, because Belle somehow manages to defend herself every single time. By the end of the day, even Dev is amazed by how tough she is. Meanwhile, we start noticing something interesting among the friend group. Lee keeps smiling whenever he looks at Tara, and Tara smiles back at him. At the same time, Yukiro keeps staring at Anna, and Anna also seems happy whenever she sees him. So it's becoming pretty obvious that some romantic feelings are starting to develop between these pairs. After school, Belle heads to her part-time job at the cafe. Unfortunately, some students from her class find out where she works. Wanting to make fun of her, they place a huge food order. Belle works hard to prepare everything and delivers the food to the address they provided. However, when she arrives, there is nobody there. That's when Belle realizes she has been tricked. The students only place the order to waste her time and humiliate her. She immediately calls her boss and explains the situation. But instead of understanding, the cafe owner becomes furious. He tells Belle that she accepted the order, so if the food goes to waste, the cost will be deducted from her salary. Hearing this leaves Belle extremely worried. As if things weren't already bad enough, heavy rain suddenly starts pouring. At that exact moment, her uncle calls. He tells her that her grandmother's condition has become worse. They need expensive medicine immediately, but he doesn't have enough money to buy it. Hearing this breaks Belle's heart. Even though she is worried herself, she tries to sound strong and reassures her uncle. She tells him not to worry because she is working part-time and will send money for the medicine as soon as possible. After hanging up the phone, Belle can no longer hold back her emotions. She starts crying. A little later, she ends up outside a club where Dev and his friends are hanging out. Coincidentally, Dev's car is parked outside. Because of everything that has happened, Belle assumes that Dev was the one who arranged the fake food order to bully her. Filled with frustration, sadness, and anger, she throws all the food onto Dev's car and breaks down crying. A few moments later, Dev and his friends come out of the club. When Dev sees the condition of his car, he immediately becomes angry. Belle then explodes at him. She says, "Was bullying me at school not enough? Now you've started bullying me at my workplace too?" Dev looks completely confused. He says, "What are you talking about? I have no idea what you're saying." Belle continues angrily. She tells him that because of the fake order, she now has to pay 10,000 pesos in compensation. She says, "Maybe that amount means nothing to someone like you, but I need money to buy medicine for my grandmother. That's why I'm working so hard. Please stop bullying me." For the first time, Dev notices how desperate and hurt Belle really is. He calmly tells her, "I think you've misunderstood something. I didn't place that food order." But Belle is too upset to listen. She refuses to believe him and walks away. As Dev watches her leave in tears, he starts feeling guilty. For the first time, seeing Belle in such a vulnerable state makes his heart ache a little. Meanwhile, Belle continues walking home in the rain, crying the entire way. After everything that happened, Belle doesn't return home until very late at night. As soon as she enters the house, her father asks where she has been all this time. Belle simply replies that she was working at her part-time job. Hearing this surprises her father. He tells her that if she ever needs money, she can just ask him and he'll give it to her. However, Belle politely refuses. She says, "No, that's not necessary. You've already done a lot for me." Even though her words sound respectful, they create a distance between them that makes her father feel sad. It is clear that Belle still doesn't see him as someone she can rely on. Later, after going to her room, Belle starts writing an email to a certain person. She writes about everything that happened that day, the good moments, the bad moments, and all the frustrations she is carrying inside her heart. But in the end, she doesn't send the email. The next day at school, Dev keeps looking toward Belle. After seeing her cry the previous night, he has actually been feeling guilty. Because of that, he decides that he wants to return the 10,000 pesos she lost. Meanwhile, Anna, Tara, and the others are discussing ways to help Belle buy medicine for her grandmother. But Belle immediately refuses. She says, "Why should you guys pay for anything? It's all because of that Dev. He's such a rude jerk. Honestly, sometimes I feel like even his own mother hates him because of the way he behaves." Unfortunately for Belle, Anna's phone has their group chat open at that exact moment. Without anyone realizing it, the phone accidentally records Belle's words and sends them to the group. At the same time, Dev is approaching Belle to give her the money. But before he can reach her, everyone's phones receive the notification. When Dev listens to the recording and hears Belle saying that even his mother hates him, his expression immediately changes. The guilt he felt disappears and he quietly walks away. As if that wasn't enough, a few girls who worship Dev become furious after hearing Belle's comment. They immediately throw food on her and start insulting her for speaking badly about him. Later that day, Dev visits his brother at the hospital. Sitting beside his unconscious brother, Dev starts talking to him. He says, "Today Belle called me rude. She also said Mom hates me." After a brief pause, he continues, "But she's right. Mom really doesn't like me anymore." His voice becomes emotional as he looks at his brother. "You're the only one who can fix everything, so please wake up soon." It's obvious that despite his arrogant attitude, Dev is carrying a lot of pain inside. The following day, Dev is once again bothering Belle at school. However, this time their argument is witnessed by the principal. Both of them are immediately called into the office. The principal says that because of their constant fights, the school's reputation is being damaged. As punishment, he is considering suspending both of them. The moment they hear the word suspension, both Belle and Dev start pleading with him. Neither of them wants to be suspended. After listening to them, the principal finally offers a solution. He says that he won't suspend them under one condition. They must work together on a special project. If they can complete the project without fighting or causing any trouble, then they will avoid suspension. Even though neither of them likes the idea, they have no choice but to agree. After leaving the office, Belle immediately asks Dev when they're supposed to work on the project. At first, Dev doesn't answer. So Belle says, "Look, I don't want to work with you either, but I don't want to get suspended, so we have to do this." Dev finally responds. He tells her that he has a basketball game today. After the match, he'll be free, and she can come to his house so they can work on the project there. Then he simply walks away. Hearing that, Belle is left feeling a little surprised. Meanwhile, when Dev arrives at the basketball court, his friends immediately start teasing him. They keep asking whether he has some special plans now that he's invited Belle to his house. Dev becomes annoyed and quickly denies everything. He says, "It's not like that. I invited her because it's my house. She won't be able to fight with me there." Then he smirks and adds, "But I am definitely going to annoy her." On the other hand, Belle's friends are teasing her too. Belle immediately defends herself and says, "The principal forced us to do this. Otherwise, I would never work with that guy." She even says that if Dev didn't have a basketball game, she would have finished the project at school instead of going to his house. That's when her friends start telling her more about Dev. They explain that Dev plays basketball because of his older brother. Apparently, his brother was once an excellent basketball player whose biggest dream was to win a championship trophy. But before he could achieve that dream, he was shot and ended up falling into a coma. After that tragedy, Dev joined the basketball team to fulfill his brother's dream. Hearing this surprises Belle. For the first time, she starts wondering if Dev might not be as terrible as she originally thought. Curious, she asks how Dev's brother got shot, but none of her friends know the real story. Later that afternoon, Belle finally arrives at Dev's house. While looking around, she asks one of the maids decides where the restroom is. The maid tells her to go upstairs. However, once Belle gets there, she becomes confused because there are so many rooms. Thinking she has found the correct door, she enters one of the rooms and walks toward what she assumes is the bathroom. But just as she reaches for the handle, the bathroom door suddenly opens, and out walks Dev. The sight instantly freezes Belle in place. She clearly wasn't expecting to find him there. Realizing how awkward the situation is, Belle becomes extremely embarrassed. Belle immediately tries to leave the room, but no matter what she does, she can't get the door open. Seeing her struggle, Dev can't help smiling. He slowly walks closer to her and asks, "What are you doing here?" Belle looks up at him, and for a moment, they lock eyes. Feeling embarrassed, she quickly explains, "I was looking for the restroom. I accidentally entered the wrong room." Dev smiles and points toward the bathroom. "You can use that one if you want." The moment he says that, Belle rushes straight into the bathroom. As soon as she looks at herself in the mirror, she notices that her cheeks have turned completely red. She is so embarrassed that she starts splashing water on her face again and again, trying to calm herself down. A few minutes later, she comes back out and immediately asks Dev, "Did you put on a shirt yet?" Dev decides to tease her. "Nope. Not yet." Belle instantly panics. "What are you doing then? Hurry up and put one on. How long am I supposed to stand here?" Dev casually replies, "This is my room. I usually stay like this, so I'm not wearing a shirt." Belle immediately protests, "But I'm here right now, so you have to wear one." Dev laughs and says, "Fine, I already put one on, you can look now." Even then, Belle doesn't trust him. She covers her eyes with her hands and warns him, "If you're lying and you haven't put one on, I'm going to punch you again." When she finally peeks through her fingers, she sees that Dev is actually wearing a shirt. After that, Dev tells her to come sit beside him. Belle immediately becomes suspicious. She looks at him and says, "What's your plan? If you're thinking about trying anything weird, I'll seriously kill you." Hearing that makes Dev laugh. Ignoring her complaints, he pulls her over and makes her sit beside him. Then he suddenly takes out his phone and snaps a selfie with her. Confused, Belle asks why he did that. Dev explains, "We'll show this to the principal. It'll prove that we worked together on the project." Then he casually adds, "You can go home now. I'll finish the entire project by myself and tell the principal that you helped me." Hearing that, Belle immediately shakes her head. "No way! If you don't actually do the project, the principal will suspend me too." Dev smirks mischievously. "Oh, I get it now. You just want to stay here with me. That's why you don't want to leave." Belle rolls her eyes. "You really think too highly of yourself." While looking around the room, Belle notices a game console nearby. An idea instantly comes to her mind. She says, "Fine, I'll leave, but only if you can beat me in this game." Dev immediately accepts the challenge. Belle gets the first turn. As she focuses on the game, Dev keeps staring at her. For some reason, he finds her surprisingly attractive while she's concentrating. Unfortunately for him, Belle turns out to be really good at the game. Soon, it becomes Dev's turn. At first, he is doing extremely well and is about to win. But then Belle suddenly says, "Why are you so hot?" The unexpected compliment catches Dev completely off guard. He becomes nervous and loses focus. As a result, he ends up losing the game. Immediately afterward, Dev stands up and accuses her of cheating. "You cheated!" Belle looks confused. "How?" Dev points at her and says, "Why did you suddenly call me hot?" Trying not to laugh, Belle replies, "I think you heard what you wanted to hear. I didn't call you hot. I called you hot-tempered." Dev refuses to accept defeat. "I don't care, you cheated, we're playing again." And surprisingly, Belle agrees. During the second round, Dev keeps moving closer and closer to her, trying to distract her the same way she distracted him. But right then, someone unexpectedly enters the room. It's Dev's mother. The moment Dev sees her, he becomes a little nervous. He quickly introduces Belle and says, "She's my friend." His mother warmly greets Belle and then notices how late it has become. She tells Belle to stay and have dinner with them before going home. Belle politely agrees. During dinner, Dev's mother asks her a simple question. "What kind of student is Dev at school?" Instead of telling the truth, Belle starts praising him. She says, "Dev is actually a really good student. We became friends on the very first day." Dev nearly chokes hearing that. Belle continues, "He's excellent in his studies and he's also amazing at basketball. In fact, he has an important match coming up soon. You should come watch it." The moment she says that, Dev immediately looks toward his mother. Deep down, he desperately wants her to attend his game. However, his mother simply shakes her head. She says that she's too busy and won't be able to come. The disappointment on Dev's face is obvious, and Belle notices it immediately. For someone who acts tough all the time, Dev looks surprisingly hurt. Later that night, the two of them return to Dev's room and finally start working on their project. While they are studying, Dev quietly hands Belle 10,000 pesos. However, he still doesn't tell her that he wasn't responsible for the fake food order. Instead, he simply gives her the money. He then thanks her for speaking so positively about him in front of his mother. Meanwhile, Belle is chatting with Anna on her phone and smiling. Seeing her smile like that makes Dev curious, or maybe a little jealous. He walks over and asks, "Who are you texting, some guy?" The way he asks the question makes it sound suspiciously like jealousy. Belle immediately replies that she's just chatting with Anna. A little later, Belle notices a picture of Kim on Dev's phone. Curious, she asks why he broke up with his ex-girlfriend. The moment Kim's name comes up, Dev becomes visibly annoyed. At first, he refuses to talk about it, but Belle keeps insisting until he finally gives in. He tells her, "Kim was my first girlfriend, but she wasn't my true love." Then he reveals that Kim cheated on him with another guy. Because of that betrayal, he ended their relationship. After telling his story, Dev turns toward Belle and says, "All right, now tell me about yourself." After hearing about Kim, Dev suddenly becomes curious about Belle's past. So he asks her, "Have you ever had a boyfriend?" Belle immediately avoids the question and refuses to answer. Dev protests, "That's not fair. I told you about my relationship, so now you have to tell me about yours." Belle crosses her arms and replies, "Why should I? We're not even that close." Hearing that, Dev moves a little closer and says, "Come on, now you definitely have to tell me." But Belle still refuses to answer. Eventually, Dev grabs her phone and refuses to give it back. Realizing she has no choice, Belle finally starts talking. She tells him that she did have a boyfriend once. His name was RJ. However, one day RJ suddenly left her without any explanation. Since then, she hasn't heard from him and doesn't even know where he is now. Then, just to annoy Dev, she adds that RJ was an even better basketball player than him. The moment Dev hears that, his competitive side activates. He immediately says, "Really? Then whenever you meet RJ again, let me know. I'll challenge him to a basketball match and show you who's the better player." The next day at school, Belle and Dev are scheduled to present their project. Meanwhile, Lee quietly sits beside Tara. The moment he sits down, Tara gives him a cake that she specifically brought for him. Then she nervously asks if he likes it. Without thinking, Lee blurts out, "I like you." Tara immediately freezes and stares at him. Realizing what he just said, Lee quickly corrects himself. "I mean, yes, I like it." Hearing that makes Tara smile shyly. At the same time, Yukiro is secretly drawing Anna's portrait. Unfortunately for him, Anna catches him in the act. This leads to a cute conversation between the two, making it even more obvious that feelings are developing there as well. A little later, Belle and Dev begin presenting their project. The project focuses on anti-bullying. During the presentation, Dev publicly announces that he will never bully anyone again. Not only that, but he also apologizes to Belle in front of everyone for the way he treated her. Then he tells the entire school that from now on, nobody should bully others and everyone should try to be friends instead. His speech makes everyone happy, but the happiest person there is probably Belle. After all, she never expected Dev to change this much. And from that day onward, Dev genuinely starts treating Belle much better. Of course, Dev's friends immediately begin teasing him. They keep saying that it looks like Dev has started liking Belle. Meanwhile, one particular girl becomes extremely jealous, seeing how close Belle and Dev have become. Unable to control her jealousy, she suddenly grabs Belle by the hair in front of everyone. The moment this happens, Dev rushes over and pulls the girl away from Belle. The girl then looks at Dev and says, "You're changing. Have you forgotten about that night?" Dev looks confused. "What night?" The girl immediately continues. "The night you broke up with Kim. You were drinking that night and I was with you. We were about to kiss." Hearing this shocks everyone around them. Even Dev is stunned. A few seconds later, he bluntly says, "What nonsense are you talking about? I don't even know you. Why would I spend the night with you?" The moment Dev says that, everyone realizes the girl is clearly lying. People start laughing at her, and feeling humiliated, she runs away in tears. Afterward, Dev turns to Belle and asks if she's okay. Belle reassures him that she's fine. Later, everyone heads to the library to study. Well, almost everyone. Because while the others are studying, Dev spends most of his time staring at Belle. At one point, Belle struggles to reach a book on a high shelf. Seeing this, Yukiro jokingly sighs and says, "If only I were taller." Then I could go help Belle. Hearing that, Dev simply smiles. Then Lee nudges him and says, "What are you waiting for? How much longer are you going to make the poor girl wait?" Finally, Dev gets up and walks over to Belle. Without saying much, he reaches up and grabs the book she needs. The moment Belle looks up and sees him standing so close, her heart suddenly starts racing. For some reason, she even starts blushing. Later that evening, after returning home, Dev sends Belle a message asking whether she reached home safely. However, Belle doesn't reply immediately, so Dev keeps staring at his phone and waiting. A notification finally appears. Excited, Dev quickly checks it, but it's not Belle, it's just a random message. A little later, another notification arrives. Once again, Dev excitedly grabs his phone, but this time it's a message from Ran. At this point, the poor guy is getting seriously annoyed. Finally, after a long wait, Belle replies. She simply says that yes, she arrived home safely. The moment Dev sees her message, a huge smile appears on his face. He quickly replies, "Good, I got home safely too." After that, the two of them continue chatting for a long time. Being able to talk with Belle makes Dev incredibly happy. In fact, he even finds himself blushing. And for the first time, he admits something to himself. "I think I've fallen in love with her." That night, Dev dreams about Belle again. In the dream, he slowly leans in and is just about to kiss her. But right before it happens, his alarm clock starts ringing. As a result, poor Dev can't even kiss Belle in his dreams. The next day, the school is holding a special event. The responsibility for organizing it has been given to Belle and Dev. However, Dev arrives late. Because of that, Belle is already annoyed with him. When Dev finally shows up, he tries to help her, but Belle refuses to talk to him. Meanwhile, Yukiro and Anna are trying to enjoy some romantic moments together. Unfortunately, Belle and Dev unintentionally keep ruining every opportunity they get. Wherever Belle goes, Dev follows right behind her. At the same time, Lee and Tara are also trying to spend some quality time together. But somehow, Belle and Dev manage to destroy their romantic mood too. At this point, these two are so busy focusing on each other that they're accidentally becoming the biggest obstacle to everyone else's love stories. During the school event, Belle is busy carrying several heavy boxes from one place to another. Unfortunately, she suddenly twists her ankle. As a result, she loses her balance and is about to fall. But before she can hit the ground, Dev quickly catches her. The problem is that Dev loses his balance too, so both of them end up falling together. The moment this happens, everyone around them starts cheering and making noise as if they just witnessed a romantic movie scene. Afterward, the event officially begins. While they are working together, Dev accidentally lets something slip. In the middle of a conversation, he suddenly says, "I like you." The moment those words leave his mouth, Belle freezes. She looks at him in complete shock. Seeing her reaction, Dev immediately becomes nervous. He quickly starts backtracking and says, "Relax, I was just joking." Even though he says it was a joke, the words stay in Belle's mind for the rest of the day. Later, after returning home, Belle keeps thinking about what happened. She repeatedly tries to convince herself that Dev was only joking. She tells herself, "Why would a guy like him ever like me?" Then she reminds herself of something else. Even if Dev did like her, she doesn't want to date anyone right now. What if he leaves her the same way RJ did? At this point, it's becoming obvious that Belle has started developing feelings for Dev too. The problem is that after being hurt once before, she no longer finds it easy to trust someone. The next day at school, Belle starts avoiding Dev. Dev tries multiple times to talk to her, but she keeps ignoring him and refuses to have a proper conversation. Watching Dev desperately try to get her attention is honestly pretty funny. His friends immediately start teasing him. Hearing all the teasing, Belle says, "He's not interested in me. He was just playing a prank." Those words hurt Dev more than she realizes, because unlike what everyone thinks, he genuinely likes her. However, instead of admitting it, Dev says in front of everyone, "Yeah, I don't like her. I was just joking around." The moment Belle hears that, her expression changes. She asks, "So our friendship was a joke to you too?" Now it's Dev's turn to get angry. He looks at her and says, "You still don't trust me?" Belle quietly replies, "No." After hearing that answer, Dev becomes disappointed. He says, "Fine, if you can't trust me, then our friendship ends here." And with that, he walks away. Later, Dev visits his brother at the hospital and tells him everything that happened with Belle at school. While he's there, he receives a message from Kim asking him to meet her, but Dev completely ignores the message and doesn't even bother replying. Meanwhile, Belle's friends are trying to make her understand the situation. They tell her, "We really think Dev likes you, so why are you treating him like this?" Belle finally reveals the real reason. She She says that she doesn't want to date anyone because she's afraid of getting hurt again. Then her friends ask her about RJ. At that point, Belle starts telling them the story of her first love. She explains that RJ used to live in the city, but during school vacations he would often visit her village. That's how they first met. Since RJ only came to the village once every year, Belle would spend months waiting for summer vacation just so she could see him again. As the years passed, their friendship slowly turned into love. Whenever RJ came to the village, they would spend all their time together and create countless happy memories. But one day, RJ moved overseas. Even after leaving, he continued communicating with Belle through email. Belle would write to him regularly, and he would always reply. However, after some time, RJ suddenly stopped responding. Belle continued sending emails hoping for an answer, but no matter how many messages she sent, RJ never replied. That period was incredibly painful for her. RJ was her first love, and from her perspective, he simply abandoned her without any explanation. Because of that heartbreak, Belle became afraid of trusting someone new. Later that night, Belle once again opens her email and writes a message to that same person. Just like every other time, she pours her feelings into the email, but once again, she never sends it. And this is where we learn an important detail. The person Belle has been writing emails to all this time is none other than RJ himself. The following day, Dev's friends decide that enough is enough. Since Belle and Dev are obviously miserable without each other, they come up with a plan to get them back together. According to the plan, Yukiro approaches Dev and casually says, "By the way, I'm going on a date with Belle today." The moment Dev hears that, he almost jumps out of his seat. "What? You're going on a date with her?" Yukiro immediately smirks. "Why do you care? You said you don't like her." Then he adds, "Unless you're jealous." Dev quickly denies it. "Who's jealous? Do whatever you want." But his reaction has already exposed him. After that, Dev immediately sends Belle a message asking to meet him. However, Belle replies that she isn't coming. Not wanting to give up, Dev sends another message. This time, he adds a very cute "please." And surprisingly, it works. Belle finally agrees. Just as Belle is heading to meet Dev, someone suddenly strikes her from behind. The blow lands directly on her head and she loses consciousness instantly. A little later, Dev arrives at the meeting place, but when he sees Belle lying there unconscious, he immediately panics. Without wasting a second, he rushes her to the hospital. After some time, Belle finally wakes up. When she opens her eyes, she sees all of her friends standing nearby, along with her father and stepmother. And that's when everyone finally learns the truth. Luna's father is actually Belle's father too. In other words, Luna and Belle are stepsisters. Belle's father then turns to Dev and thanks him for saving his daughter's life. Hearing those words makes Dev genuinely happy. However, that happiness doesn't last long, because Belle's father immediately adds, "I know how you treated Belle in the past. You bullied her and caused her a lot of trouble. Because of that, I don't want you anywhere near her anymore." Those words hit Dev hard. Feeling hurt, he decides not to meet Belle and quietly leaves the hospital. The next day at school, everyone is discussing who could have attacked Belle. During the conversation, Dev reveals something important. He says, "I saw the person who attacked her. From what I could tell, it looked like a girl." This makes everyone believe that Belle's attacker is female. Right afterward, we see Luna talking privately with another girl. Luna looks extremely nervous. She keeps saying, "If Dad finds out about this, he'll be furious." The other girl tries to calm her down. "Don't worry, nobody saw you." After hearing that conversation, it starts looking very suspicious. It almost seems as if Luna might be the one who attacked Belle. Meanwhile, Belle is resting and unexpectedly finds herself missing Dev. She is about to send him a message when her village friends contact her first. While chatting, they casually mention something surprising. They tell her that RJ was recently asking about her. Since he was worried, they informed him that Belle had been hospitalized. Hearing RJ's name immediately shocks Belle. At the same time, Dev is on his way to visit her. He even bought a giant teddy bear for her. However, before reaching Belle's room, he runs into another guy. The moment they see each other, neither of them looks happy. Apparently, the two have a history. They once competed against each other in a basketball match and have been rivals ever since. Dev asks him, "What are you doing here?" The guy replies, "I'm here to visit my girlfriend." Then he asks Dev the same question. Not wanting to lose, Dev confidently answers, "I'm here to see my girlfriend too." After saying that, he walks away. Secretly, Dev is feeling pretty happy because he hasn't seen Belle for an entire day. Unfortunately, when he reaches her room, he learns that she has already been discharged. Poor Dev instantly becomes disappointed. The following day at school, Dev looks completely depressed. His friends notice it immediately and start teasing him. Dev keeps asking them whether they've talked to Belle and how she's doing. Wanting to mess with him, they deliberately lie and say, "We don't think she's doing very well." The moment Dev hears that, he becomes even more restless. He immediately says, "Then let's go visit her today." Rand laughs and replies, "Why go all the way there? Just send her a message." Dev shakes his head and says, "You don't get it. I want to see her." At that point, Lee smirks and says, "Then maybe you should look behind you." Confused, Dev turns around, and there she is. Belle is standing right behind him. The moment Dev sees her healthy and smiling, it's like his soul returns to his body. Belle gives him a cute little smile, making him feel even better. Later, Dev sends her a message. He asks if she'll have lunch with him. He also apologizes for what happened between them and asks if they can be friends again. Meanwhile, Belle's friends are practically begging her to say yes. They tell her, "You have no idea how miserable this guy has been. He spent days worrying about you." Eventually, Belle agrees. When the two sit down together for lunch, Dev finally decides to stop hiding his feelings. He looks directly at Belle and says, "I don't want to be just your friend anymore." Then he takes a deep breath and continues, "I like you. Will you be my girlfriend?" Belle immediately becomes speechless. She thinks he's joking again. So she says, "I know you're kidding. Stop messing with me." But this time Dev shakes his head. "No, I'm serious." Then he adds, "The first time I said I liked you, I meant it too. My feelings for you are real." Dev continues, "Trust me, I'll be the best boyfriend you've ever had." Hearing such a sincere confession leaves Belle confused. She doesn't reject him, but she doesn't accept him either. Instead, she quietly says, "I need some time." Dev smiles warmly. "That's okay. I'll wait." After that, Dev takes Belle to meet his older brother at the hospital. While standing beside the hospital bed, Belle looks at Dev's brother and finally asks the question she's been wondering about for so long. How did he end up like this? And with that question, we're finally about to learn the painful truth behind Dev's biggest regret. After hearing Belle's question, Dev finally reveals the painful truth about what happened to his brother. He says that everything started on the day he broke up with Kim. That day, Dev was completely heartbroken. To forget his pain, he drank far too much. While he was drunk, Kim kept calling him and asking for another chance, but Dev refused to answer and hung up every time. A little later, his older brother called him. Dev was crying so much that he ended up telling his brother everything. After hearing how devastated he was, his brother came to pick him up. At that point, Dev was barely conscious because of the alcohol. While they were driving home, several robbers suddenly attacked them. During the attack, Dev's brother was shot. When Dev finally woke up later, he learned that his brother had fallen into a coma. Ever since then, he has blamed himself for what happened. His mother blamed him too. She yelled at him, scolded him, and even hit him because she believed that none of this would have happened if Dev hadn't been drunk that night. With tears in his eyes, Dev admits, "I was unconscious, so I never saw who shot my brother." As he tells the story, he becomes increasingly emotional. Seeing him like this breaks Belle's heart. She immediately tries to comfort him. She tells him that none of it was his fault. The people responsible were the criminals who attacked them, not Dev. Then Dev reveals another surprising detail. He tells Belle that the very first day they met, he was actually chasing one of those criminals. He thought he had finally found the person responsible for ruining his brother's life, but he failed to catch him. After hearing that, Belle feels guilty for misunderstanding him and apologizes. Dev simply smiles and says, "Maybe I couldn't catch the criminal that day, but after that, I found you." Hearing those words makes Belle emotional as well. The next day, a familiar face suddenly returns to school. It's Kim. She has re-enrolled at the school. Seeing her shocks everyone, but nobody is more surprised than Dev. Kim acts as if nothing happened between them. She keeps calling him baby and constantly tries to get close to him. She even asks him to give their relationship another chance. However, Dev immediately shuts her down. He tells her, "Our relationship ended a long time ago." Then he adds, "There's someone else in my life now," and politely asks her to stop interfering. But Kim refuses to give up. In front of Belle, she suddenly tries to kiss Dev. Fortunately, Dev immediately steps back and avoids her. Watching all of this makes Belle incredibly angry. Not at Dev, at Kim. Afterward, Dev reassures Belle. He tells her that he no longer has any feelings for Kim. Then he sincerely says, "Please don't ever misunderstand me. I'll always be loyal to you." Later, while Belle is working at her part-time job, someone suddenly calls out her name. When she turns around, she freezes. Standing in front of her is RJ, the same RJ she has been waiting for all these years, which also means that the guy Dev met at the hospital was actually RJ. He had gone there specifically to see Belle. The moment Belle says his name, her friends are shocked. Meanwhile, Dev's friends immediately recognize him. They reveal that RJ is actually their basketball rival. Last year, RJ's team defeated their team in a major match. Hearing this surprises Belle even more. She looks at RJ and asks, "Wait a minute, you were here last year?" Then she continues, "I thought you were still living in the United States." At that moment, everything suddenly clicks in her mind. RJ wasn't gone because he couldn't contact her. He was here, and yet he never came to see her. He never replied to her emails. Naturally, Belle becomes upset. RJ tries to explain himself, but she refuses to listen at first. However, after he repeatedly asks for a chance, Belle finally agrees to hear him out. The two of them go outside and talk alone. RJ immediately apologizes for disappearing from her life. Then he confesses something that catches Belle completely off guard. He tells her, "I still love you," but Belle remains silent. Seeing that, RJ starts explaining everything that happened. He reveals that he originally went to the United States on a scholarship, but after arriving there, he discovered that the scholarship had been given to someone else. As a result, his mother had to pay his tuition fees herself. RJ was living with his mother and stepfather at the time. Unfortunately, his stepfather never liked him. He hated seeing money spent on RJ and constantly argued with RJ's mother because of it. On top of that, RJ was bullied at school. Little by little, all those problems crushed him emotionally. RJ admits that there were countless times when he wanted to talk to Belle, but he was afraid. He didn't want her to worry about him or become upset because of his problems. So instead of explaining the truth, he chose to stay silent. Then he tells her something else. The reason he returned was because he wanted to see her again. In fact, he even went to the hospital to visit her after hearing about her accident. But by the time he arrived, she had already been discharged. After hearing everything, Belle finally understands why RJ disappeared. And for the first time, she realizes that he never intentionally abandoned her. RJ then looks directly into her eyes and asks, "Can we start dating again?" For a moment, there is complete silence. Then Belle gently shakes her head. No. Hearing that answer clearly hurts RJ, but he doesn't give up completely. Instead, he forces a small smile and asks, "Then, can we at least stay friends?" After hearing RJ's request, Belle agrees to remain friends with him. RJ immediately becomes happy and gives her a warm hug. The next day at school, a shocking truth finally comes out. It turns out that one of the boys from Luna's group was responsible for attacking Belle that night. And Luna herself was involved in the plan. The girl Dev saw near the scene was actually Luna. After learning everything, the principal takes strict action. Luna and all of the students involved are suspended from school. When Belle's father finds out what happened, he becomes furious. Luna's mother desperately tries to convince him to talk to the principal and get Luna's suspension canceled. However, Belle's father refuses. He says that Luna made a serious mistake and must face the consequences. Even Belle tries defending Luna, but her father refuses to listen to anyone. As a result, the very next day, Luna's mother decides to leave with Luna. Belle repeatedly begs her stepsister not to go, but Luna simply apologizes and leaves with her mother. Watching them leave breaks Belle's heart. She ends up crying for a long time. Later, hoping to improve her mood, Belle visits an arcade club to play some games. While she's there, she unexpectedly runs into RJ. The two start talking about their childhood memories. During the conversation, Belle admits that she missed RJ a lot after he moved to America. Hearing that makes RJ smile. Really? Belle nods and says, "Yeah, but as a friend." That last part immediately ruins RJ's excitement. A little later, Belle tells him something else. She reveals that she used to write emails to him every single day. RJ looks surprised and asks what she wrote about. Belle explains that she wrote about everything happening in her life. She wrote about moving to the city. She wrote about her new school. And she even wrote about Dev constantly bullying her. The moment RJ hears Dev's name, he becomes curious. He asks, "Wait, Dev goes to your school? And he bullied you?" Belle nods. RJ immediately says, "If I had been there, I would have fought him for treating you like that." Hearing that makes Belle laugh. She reassures him that Dev isn't like that anymore. Then she accidentally says something very important. "Besides, Dev loves me now." The moment those words leave her mouth, RJ freezes. A few seconds later, he carefully asks, "Do you love him too?" Belle thinks about it for a moment. Then she quietly answers, "Maybe I do." Even though those words hurt RJ deeply, he hides his disappointment. Instead, he smiles and tells Belle that she can always talk to him about anything. No matter what happens, he'll always be her friend. Belle appreciates that and agrees. RJ then gives her another hug. Unfortunately, someone else witnesses that hug, Dev. As it turns out, he is also at the same club. And seeing Belle in RJ's arms immediately puts him in a bad mood. He walks over and asks, "Who's this?" Belle introduces RJ and explains that he's her ex-boyfriend. The moment Dev hears that, he says, "So this is the guy who disappeared and left you alone?" Now, Dev and RJ already disliked each other because of basketball, but after discovering that Belle is involved, their rivalry becomes twice as intense. The atmosphere quickly turns hostile. Thankfully, Belle steps in before things get out of control. She warns both of them that if they keep fighting, she'll end her friendship with both of them. Hearing that threat finally forces them to calm down. Afterward, Belle says she's she's going home. Then she tells both of them to go home too and absolutely not to fight. Since it's already late, Dev offers to take her home. However, Belle refuses because her father would be angry if he saw them together. RJ immediately offers to take her instead, but Belle refuses again and says she'll go by herself. Dev knows it's not safe for her to walk alone at night. Even though it hurts him, he puts Belle's safety first and tells her to go with RJ. The decision clearly makes Dev uncomfortable, and Belle notices that immediately. She doesn't really want to leave with RJ, but after Dev repeatedly insists, she finally agrees. The following day, Dev invites Belle to his house. When she arrives, she finds flowers, a teddy bear, and several gifts waiting for her. Looking around, Belle jokingly asks, "Is this a date?" Dev immediately shakes his head. "No, you haven't agreed to date me yet." Then he grins and adds, "You can think of this as a trailer. If you like it, maybe you'll agree to the full movie later." Belle laughs and asks, "And what if I don't like it?" Dev confidently replies, "I won't give you that option. I'll do my absolute best." Then he looks directly at her and says, "I know you like me too, you're just refusing to admit it." The moment he says that, Belle starts blushing. Of course, Dev notices immediately. With a teasing smile, he says, "See? I told you. That's why you're blushing." Belle can't help smiling. At this point, Dev had actually prepared many more surprises for her. Unfortunately, before they can continue, Belle receives a call from her father. He tells her to come home immediately. The moment Dev hears that, his mood instantly drops. As Belle is about to leave, Dev suddenly stops her. Then, in a sincere voice, he says, "There's one more thing I want to tell you." Belle turns around. Dev takes a deep breath and says, "I love you." Then he continues, "You don't have to answer right now. Take as much time as you need." And finally, he adds, "Even if your answer is no, please tell me. I'll keep waiting until you're ready." After hearing those words, Belle doesn't know what to say. She simply stands there, silently looking at him. Because deep down, her heart is already starting to lean toward Dev. Meanwhile, the next day, an important basketball game is finally about to begin. And as expected, Dev's team is preparing to step onto the court. Now we move to the final basketball match of RJ's team. Everyone had already arrived at the stadium, but Belle was nowhere to be seen. Dev kept looking around, waiting for her and wondering where she had gone. Meanwhile, Belle had gone somewhere very important. She was meeting Dev's mother. During their conversation, Belle told her that Dev really wanted her to come and watch his basketball match. She explained how much Dev had been suffering because she refused to talk to him. Belle also reminded her that Dev wasn't the one who had committed the crime. The real culprit was the thief, yet Dev was the one carrying all the pain. Belle then asked her if she could finally forgive her son and give him another chance. While Belle was talking to her, Dev called her and asked where she was. Just then, Belle arrived at the stadium and replied, "I'm right here." Seeing her, Dev immediately asked where she had been all this time. Belle smiled and said, "I went to get a surprise for you." Dev became curious and asked, "Then where's my surprise?" Before Belle could answer, someone suddenly appeared behind him. It was Dev's mother. The moment Dev saw her, his eyes lit up with happiness. His mother walked up to him and apologized for all the pain she had caused him over the past months. Hearing those words made Dev emotional. He admitted that there were times when he genuinely felt that nobody loved him anymore. His mother immediately hugged him and said, "Who told you that? I love you." Then she added, "And there's someone else who loves you very much too." Dev looked confused and asked who she was talking about. His mother smiled and pointed toward Belle. "Belle." Dev immediately asked, "Do you really think Belle loves me?" His mother laughed and said, "Of course. If she didn't love you, why would she do all of this for you?" Hearing that instantly made Dev happy. Soon, it was time for the basketball match to begin. Dev said goodbye to both Belle and his mother before heading onto the court. As Belle and Dev's mother were making their way inside, another surprise arrived. RJ showed up with Belle's uncle and grandmother. Seeing them made Belle incredibly happy because she hadn't expected them to come. Shortly afterward, the game officially started. During the first half, RJ's team was dominating the match. RJ couldn't resist teasing Dev and kept provoking him. He mocked Dev's performance and even said, "If you can't even play basketball properly, then how are you supposed to protect Belle?" Those words immediately made Dev angry. However, after the halftime break, everything changed. Dev returned to the court with a completely different mindset. He started playing exceptionally well and gradually turned the entire game around. By the end of the match, Dev's team emerged victorious. Everyone in the stadium erupted with excitement. Belle was especially happy. The moment the final whistle blew, she ran straight toward Dev and hugged him tightly. Unfortunately, watching that scene broke RJ's heart. After the celebrations ended, everyone gradually left the stadium, but Belle stayed behind because she wanted to wait for Dev. While she was waiting, RJ approached her. This time, RJ decided to be completely honest. He told Belle that he no longer wanted to remain just friends. He wanted to go back to the way things used to be. He wanted to be Belle's boyfriend again. Then he asked if Belle could give him one more chance. Belle gently shook her head and reminded RJ that she had already told him before that it wasn't possible. After saying that, Belle started walking away. But RJ stopped her one last time and asked a painful question. "Do you not like me anymore?" Belle paused before answering, "I do like you." Unfortunately, at that exact moment, Dev arrived. He only heard those 3 words, "I do like you." Without hearing the rest of the conversation, Dev immediately misunderstood the situation. Feeling hurt, he turned around and walked away. Belle quickly tried to chase after him, but RJ stopped her again. At that point, Belle finally clarified everything. He looked directly at RJ and said, "I like you, but as a friend." Then she continued, "The person in my heart right now is Dev. I love him." Those words completely shattered RJ's heart. Realizing that he had truly lost Belle, RJ slowly let go of her hand. The moment he did, Belle rushed after Dev. By then, Dev was already getting into his car and preparing to leave. Belle ran in front of the vehicle and blocked his path. Annoyed and heartbroken, Dev got out and asked, "What is your problem?" Belle immediately replied, "You are." Then she continued, "You told me to take my time and give you an answer, but now you're leaving me behind." Dev looked at her and said, "You know how I feel about you. Then why do you keep hurting me? If your answer is no, then just tell me right now. I know RJ is still in your heart. You haven't forgotten him and you still like him." Hearing that accusation made Belle upset. She replied, "And what about the pain you're causing me? You don't even trust me." Then, finally, Belle said the words Dev had been waiting to hear. "I love you." Dev froze. Confused, he asked, "Then why did you say those things to RJ a few minutes ago?" Belle sighed and explained everything. "I was trying to tell him that I like him as a friend, but you got angry and left before hearing the entire sentence." Then she looked straight into Dev's eyes and continued, "I don't have any romantic feelings for RJ anymore." After a brief pause, she finally confessed, "Because I love you." The moment those words left Belle's mouth, all of Dev's anger disappeared instantly. A huge smile appeared on his face. Then he replied, "I love you too." And just as the two were about to kiss, the scene suddenly cuts away. Seriously, what timing? Just when we were finally about to get some romance, the director decided to end the moment right there. After that, we see a scene at a club where everyone is celebrating together. Dev proudly announces to everyone that from this day forward, he and Belle are officially boyfriend and girlfriend. Hearing that makes everyone extremely happy. At that moment, Belle's uncle jokingly reminds Dev that he still needs permission from Belle's father. Dev confidently replies that he'll impress Belle's father very soon as well. However, right then, Dev receives an unexpected phone call. The caller informs him that they've found a video from the night of the incident. The footage clearly shows the thief, and they send the video to Dev so he can watch it carefully. The drama then briefly shows us what's inside that video. On the night of the tragedy, when Dev's brother and another person were leaving the club, they noticed several thieves attempting to steal a car. Dev's brother tried to stop them, but during the confrontation, one of the criminals pulled out a gun and shot him. Then comes the biggest shock. We see Belle's uncle nearby, secretly talking to someone on the phone. This heavily implies that Belle's uncle was connected to the gang of thieves all along. But Dev doesn't watch the video immediately. Instead, he puts everything aside and walks over to Belle. The two begin dancing together while enjoying their special moment. As this happens, we hear Dev's voice in the background. He says that their first meeting wasn't an accident at all. It was destiny. And because of that destiny, the two of them were finally able to find each other and become one. And with that beautiful moment, Season 1 of this drama comes to an end. At the beginning of Season 2, we are welcomed with a romantic scene. Dev is about to kiss Belle, and everything seems perfect. But just before their lips meet, Belle suddenly calls Dev. That's when we realize that everything we just saw was only Dev's dream. Poor Dev couldn't even kiss Belle in his dream. As soon as Dev answers the phone, he complains, "Why did you call me? We were just about to kiss." Hearing that, Belle teases him and says, "So you'll only kiss me in your dreams? Won't you kiss me in real life?" Dev immediately gets out of bed and replies, "Of course I want to, but you never give me the chance. Please, give me a kiss right now." Belle is about to kiss him through the video call when suddenly her father walks into the room and asks, "What happened to your lips?" Belle gets so scared that she immediately hangs up the call and pretends nothing happened. Then Belle's father tells her that Luna's mother has made a condition. She said she will only return to this house after Belle leaves. Hearing this, Belle becomes upset. She tells her father, "Then I'll stay somewhere else. Please bring Auntie and Luna back home." But Belle's father refuses. He says, "You don't have to go anywhere. I want all three of you in my life and I'll find a solution. At that moment, Belle wants to tell her father the truth about her relationship with Dev. However, before she can say anything, her father starts speaking badly about Dev, criticizing him in every possible way. After hearing all those harsh words, Belle loses the courage to confess their relationship. After that, we move to the school. These two lovebirds are waiting for their favorite person to arrive. A little later, when the three friends enter the school together, both Yukiro and Dev can't help smiling the moment they see them. However, Lee isn't at school today because he's feeling sick. Tara is very worried about him and keeps thinking about his condition. Meanwhile, Kim notices Belle and Dev together and becomes jealous. Belle immediately realizes what's going on, so she quietly tells Dev, "I think Kim still likes you." But Dev doesn't care at all. He confidently says, "I don't care. You're the only one in my life now. In fact, I want to marry you." Belle is shocked and says, "What? We just started dating and you're already dreaming about marriage." Dev smiles and replies, "Yes, I can't imagine living without you. So please tell your father about our relationship." Hearing this, Belle becomes a little worried because she knows very well that her father hates Dev. Still, she doesn't want to disappoint him, so she says, "I'll try." Later, Dev goes to meet his older brother. Together, they're watching another video sent by the detective. At the end of season 1, the detective had already sent Dev an important video showing Belle's uncle, but this time, it's a completely different recording. In the video, only the back of a mysterious man can be seen. The detective explains that this person is one of the members of the criminal group they're investigating. Because of that clue, Dev has now started searching for this unknown thief. On the other side, Belle goes to visit her uncle. His uncle and grandmother are currently staying at RJ's house. His uncle invites her inside, but Belle politely refuses because she feels uncomfortable seeing RJ. However, her uncle tells her that RJ isn't home, so the two of them begin walking inside. But just then, the front door opens and RJ appears. The moment Belle and RJ see each other, both of them become awkward. At the same time, RJ's younger sister comes running over. She's very happy to see Belle. Soon after, RJ's father invites Belle to stay for dinner with the whole family. Belle thanks him for allowing her uncle and grandmother to stay in their house. RJ's father smiles and says, "There's no need to thank me. Whenever we visited your village, your grandmother always welcomed us into your home. Helping your family is the least we can do." Then RJ's sister jokingly says, "In a few more days, you'll officially become part of our family." Of course, she's talking about Belle marrying RJ. Both Belle and RJ immediately understand what she means. So RJ quickly interrupts her and says, "Belle already loves someone else. His name is Dev." As soon as she hears Dev's name, RJ's sister becomes angry. She says, "That bully? The boy who used to bully everyone at school? How could you choose him instead of my brother?" Belle calmly explains, "Dev has completely changed now. He doesn't bully anyone anymore." But RJ's sister refuses to believe it and continues speaking badly about Dev. Hearing all those insults, Belle feels really hurt. Seeing this, RJ scolds his sister and tells her to stop. He then says, "Dev truly loves Belle. That's why Belle forgave him." After a short pause, RJ smiles bitterly and adds, "Actually, Belle has a very kind heart. That's why she even forgave me." Later, when RJ is alone, Belle walks over to him and thanks him for defending Dev. But RJ doesn't respond warmly. Instead, he keeps avoiding Belle. Confused, Belle asks, "Why aren't you talking to me? We're still friends, aren't we?" RJ shakes his head and replies, "No. I don't want to be your friend anymore." He continues, "If I keep talking to you, I'll fall in love with you all over again. I still can't forget you. So please, be rude to me. Treat me badly so I can finally start hating you. Otherwise, I'll spend my entire life loving you all by myself." After hearing those heartbreaking words, Belle becomes completely silent. She doesn't know what to say. Later, while Belle is working at the cafe, she keeps thinking about RJ's confession and looks lost in her thoughts. Dev introduces himself into her space, notices that something is bothering her, and asks what's wrong. However, Belle doesn't tell him anything about RJ. Just as Dev leans in, hoping to finally kiss Belle, someone suddenly calls out Belle's name, interrupting the moment once again. Because of that interruption, their kiss remains incomplete once again. The person who called Belle was Luna, who had come to meet her. By the way, don't get confused. It seems the director changed Luna's actress in season 2, so the Luna from season 1 and the Luna we see now look different. Luna sincerely apologizes to Belle for the way she treated her in the past. Belle doesn't hold any grudge against her and forgives her almost immediately. Meanwhile, Belle's father goes to meet Luna's mother and asks her to come back home. Luna's mother calmly replies, "I don't hate Belle. The person I hate is that woman, the woman because of whom you broke off our engagement." Here, we finally learn about their past. Belle's father and Luna's mother were classmates in high school, and they had loved each other since those days. However, one day, While visiting a village, Belle's father met Belle's mother and fell in love with her instead. Because of that, he broke off his engagement with Luna's mother and married Belle's mother. But his own parents never accepted Belle's mother. They forced him to marry Luna's mother anyway. When Belle's mother found out about this betrayal, she completely cut ties with him and moved to Japan. At that time, she was already pregnant with Belle. However, Belle's father never knew that she was carrying his child. Later, Belle was born in Japan, where she grew up with her mother. Sadly, one day, a tsunami took her mother's life. After losing her, Belle had no choice but to leave Japan and return to the Philippines. And that's the tragic story of Belle's past. Back in the present, Luna arrives at the house and everyone starts having dinner together. During dinner, Luna accidentally reveals Belle and Dev's relationship to Belle's father. She tells him that Belle is now in love with Dev. The moment he hears this, Belle's father becomes furious. Later that day, Dev drops Belle off at her house. As they're standing together outside, Belle's father sees them with his own eyes. At that moment, he realizes Luna was telling the truth. He immediately takes Belle inside the house and scolds her for dating Dev. Belle tries her best to explain that Dev has completely changed. She tells her father that Dev doesn't bully anyone anymore and has become a much better person, but her father refuses to listen. Instead, he orders Belle to break up with Dev. Those words completely break Belle's heart. Meanwhile, Dev can't stop worrying about Belle. He keeps wondering what Belle's father might have said to her. So the very next day, Dev gathers all his courage and goes to meet Belle's father. Looking straight at him, Dev says, "I know that in your eyes, I'm still the same old Dev, but trust me, I'm trying to change myself. And for Belle, I'll become a better person. Because your child deserves someone better." After hearing Dev's honest words, Belle's father doesn't argue with him anymore. Later, he goes home and surprises Belle by saying, "You know, Dev isn't as bad as I thought." Belle is completely shocked to hear those words. Then his father smiles and says, "Invite Dev tomorrow. Let's all have lunch together as one family." Hearing that, Belle becomes incredibly happy. The next day finally arrives. Dev is extremely nervous before the family lunch. This time, Belle's uncle and grandmother are also there. Everything is going well until RJ and his sister unexpectedly arrive. It turns out Belle's uncle invited them as well. When Belle's grandmother sees RJ, she warmly welcomes him and treats him with so much affection. Watching all this makes Dev feel a little uncomfortable. Then RJ's sister tells Belle's father, since they were kids, RJ and Belle have always been close friends. RJ has always taken good care of Belle. Hearing that, Belle's father thanks RJ for always looking after Belle. The more Dev watches all this, the more insecure he becomes. He notices that Belle's father is spending much more time talking to RJ than to him. Not only that, but everyone in Belle's family seems very comfortable around RJ. The biggest thing bothering Dev is that RJ knows so many things about Belle's past, things that even Dev, as Belle's boyfriend, doesn't know. That night, while the two of them are together, Dev finally opens up. He softly asks, "Will you make me your best friend? RJ knows so much about you, but as your boyfriend, I hardly know anything." As soon as Belle hears those words, she realizes how hurt Dev is feeling. So she gently smiles and says, "RJ is my past, but you're my future." Then she asks, "So, will you be my best friend?" Those words instantly make Dev smile again. Belle continues, "If there's anything you want to know about me, just ask. I'll tell you everything." Dev happily agrees, and the two of them spend the rest of the evening teasing each other and having fun together. The next day, they arrive at school and find Tara crying. It's been several days since she last spoke to Lee. No one knows where Lee is or how he's doing, and that uncertainty is making Tara extremely worried. So everyone gathers around to comfort her. A little later, Dev sends Belle a message asking her to meet at the church. Belle happily agrees. Meanwhile, we see Belle's uncle receiving several urgent messages. Someone keeps texting him, "Where are you? The boss is looking for you," but he ignores every message. Finally, another message arrives. "If you don't tell us where you are, we'll hurt Belle." The moment he reads those words, Belle's uncle becomes terrified. At the same time, Belle arrives at the church to meet Dev. As Belle walks toward him, Dev secretly starts recording a video of her. Meanwhile, Belle's uncle finally replies to those people. He writes, "I'll meet you. Just please, don't do anything to Belle." Right after that, he quickly calls Belle and anxiously asks, "Are you okay?" Belle replies, "Yes, why? What happened?" Her uncle simply says, "Be careful and go home as soon as possible." Belle doesn't understand why her uncle suddenly sounds so worried. Back at the church, Dev takes out a beautiful necklace and gently puts it around Belle's neck. Then he says, "If you had never come into my life, I would still be the same person I used to be. Thank you for coming into my life. Thank you for changing me. I'll become a better person because of you, and I promise I'll never leave you." Hearing those heartfelt words, Belle looks into Dev's eyes and says, "I love you." Without hesitation, Dev smiles and replies, "I love you too." After that, we see Belle's uncle going to meet a mysterious man. It turns out that Belle's uncle had borrowed a huge amount of money from his boss, and now he has no way to repay the debt. The man angrily tells him, if you hadn't messed things up that night, everything would have been fine by now. The night they're talking about is the same night when Dev's brother was shot. So it's clear that Belle's uncle is somehow connected to everything that happened that night. After that, we see Kim being harassed by another student. Just then, RJ arrives and scolds the boy, forcing him to leave. Instead of thanking RJ, Kim says, if Dev had been here instead of you, he would have beaten that guy up. RJ calmly replies, but I'm not Dev, I'm RJ. Your ex is now with my ex. Kim immediately says, and that's exactly why you'll never be like Dev. If someone bullies his girlfriend, Dev fights back so that nobody ever dares to hurt her again. RJ then answers, are you my girlfriend? Why would I go around fighting people for you? Kim smirks and says, that's why Belle chose Dev instead of you. Dev knows how to protect the person he loves. If you really want Belle back, stop being the good guy and become the bad guy. Then Belle will return to you, and I'll get my Dev back. However, RJ completely ignores Kim's advice and simply walks away. The next day, when Dev arrives at school, the principal calls him into the office. He tells Dev, someone has filed a complaint against you and they're asking the school to expel you. Dev is completely shocked. He says, but I don't bully anyone anymore. The principal replies, maybe not now, but you did in the past. One of your old victims may have reported you. Hearing this completely breaks Dev's heart. Later, when everyone else finds out about the complaint, they immediately start thinking of a way to save Dev from being suspended. By the way, Dev isn't with them during this discussion. They come up with a plan. If every student in the class signs a statement saying that Dev has changed and no longer bullies anyone, the school won't suspend him. However, there's one problem. They need permission from the class president before collecting everyone's signatures. And the class president is none other than Kim. Belle confidently says, that's easy. We'll just ask Kim for help. Everyone immediately turns toward Belle in surprise. They never expected her to suggest asking Kim so easily. Without wasting any time, Belle goes to meet Kim and asks her to help save Dev. Kim smiles and says, I'll help, but only if you break up with Dev first. Hearing that, Belle calmly replies, I thought you loved Dev, but now I realize you don't love him. You only love yourself. I'll never break up with him. After that, Belle and the others start asking every student in school to sign the petition. But without Kim's approval, none of the students are willing to sign it. Later, Kim goes to meet RJ and tells him, Dev is going to be suspended. That means Belle and Dev's relationship will fall apart. RJ looks at her and says, I'm starting to doubt whether you ever loved Dev at all. If you truly loved him, you'd be helping him instead of making things worse. Those words hit Kim harder than she expected. So she later meets Belle and says, fine, I'll help you. Everyone becomes hopeful. But then she adds, on one condition, Dev has to spend one night with me. The moment everyone hears that, they're completely shocked. Belle becomes furious. This time, Dev is standing there as well. Kim quickly explains, today's my grandfather's birthday. I want Dev to come to the party with me because I never told my family that we already broke up. I just want him to pretend to be my boyfriend for one evening. Even after hearing the explanation, Dev refuses. However, Belle keeps convincing him. She says, we don't have any other choice. Please do it. Dev looks at Belle and asks, aren't you going to feel jealous? Belle smiles and replies, why would I? I trust you. Hearing those words, Dev finally agrees to attend the party with Kim. Meanwhile, Belle's uncle receives another threatening message, demanding that he repay the money immediately. The message leaves him extremely worried. RJ notices his expression and asks what happened. The uncle lies and says, our house in the village has been damaged and it'll cost a lot of money to repair it, but I don't have enough. RJ immediately offers, should I ask my father for help? But the uncle refuses and says, no, I'll manage somehow. Later, he goes to meet Belle and asks if she can lend him some money. Unfortunately, Belle doesn't have that much either. At that moment, Dev is also there. The moment he hears about the financial problem, he immediately offers to help, but both Belle and her uncle refuse to accept his money. Dev smiles and says, aren't we family now? Can't I help my own family? Hearing those sincere words, Belle finally agrees. She tells Dev, okay, we'll borrow the money, but we'll definitely pay you back. Dev doesn't care about getting the money back, but after Belle and her uncle insist again and again, he finally accepts. Later, Belle's uncle goes out to return the borrowed money. However, before he can reach his destination, someone suddenly steals all the cash from him. After the money is stolen, Belle's uncle desperately runs after the thief. He tries everything he can to catch him, but the thief disappears before he can do anything. Later that night, Dev goes with Kim to her grandfather's birthday party, just as they had agreed. During the party, Dev asks her, "At first, you refused to help me, so why did you suddenly change your mind?" Kim honestly replies, "I thought that if you got suspended, Belle would suffer a lot. But later I realized, if you disappeared from school, I'd suffer too." The next day is finally the school hearing. Thanks to Kim, the students have signed the petition stating that Dev has truly changed and no longer bullies anyone. After reviewing everyone's statements, the principal decides not to suspend Dev. The moment they hear the decision, everyone becomes extremely happy. Later, Dev goes to meet his brother because their father has finally returned to the Philippines from America. Now the entire family has decided to reopen the investigation and find out who really shot Dev's brother Andrel. Meanwhile, we see Tara spending time with Belle. She's still heartbroken because she has no news about Lee. The truth is finally revealed. Lee's father is a politician. Because of his corruption scandals, the entire family was forced to flee the city. A few days earlier, Lee had told everyone that he was sick, but that wasn't true. He had actually left the city with his family. Now nobody knows where Lee is or whether he's even safe. Tara sadly says, "I don't think I deserve anyone's love. I already lost someone once. And now I've lost Lee too." This also reveals something important. Lee wasn't Tara's first love. There was someone else before him. We'll learn more about that person very soon. Belle gently comforts Tara and tells her that everything will be okay. Meanwhile, Belle's uncle receives another threatening message. Since he still hasn't repaid the money, the gang once again threatens to kill Belle if he doesn't cooperate. The next day is a very special one. It's Dev and Belle's 1-month anniversary. To surprise Belle, Dev decorates a beautiful place with lights and romantic decorations. The moment Belle sees everything, she can't stop smiling. Then Dev takes out a small ring. Belle is completely surprised. She laughs and says, "What is this? We're way too young to get married." Dev smiles and replies, "It's not a wedding ring, it's a promise ring." Then he continues, "From today onward, let's promise never to hide anything from each other." Without any hesitation, Belle puts on the ring. She promises Dev that she'll never keep any secrets from him. After that, Dev asks, "Can we recreate our first kiss?" Belle happily agrees. But just as Dev leans in to kiss her, she playfully places a piece of paper between their lips. That's exactly how their very first kiss happened, so she wants to recreate the moment perfectly. At the same time, Tara is sitting alone, crying as she remembers Lee. Today is also their 1-month anniversary, but this time, Lee isn't there with her. Unable to control her emotions, Tara goes to visit Andrel in the hospital. It turns out Tara and Andrel were classmates in the past, and they used to be very close friends. However, because Tara failed a school year, she's now studying alongside Dev instead. While crying, Tara says, "Everyone always leaves me. Don't I deserve to be loved by anyone?" At that moment, Andrel gently places his hand on her head. Tara freezes in shock. She suddenly realizes that Andrel has regained consciousness. Seeing him awake makes her incredibly happy. At the same time, Dev receives a phone call from his mother with the same wonderful news. The moment he hears that Andrel is finally awake, Dev and Belle rush to the hospital together. When they see Andrel conscious, everyone becomes overwhelmed with happiness. Dev even hugs Tara and thanks her for staying beside his brother all this time. Although Andrel is awake, he's still unable to speak properly. The following day, Tara comes to visit him again. Since he can't talk, Andrel types on his phone and shows her the screen. It says, "Are you okay?" Tara smiles and replies, "Yes, why wouldn't I be?" Then Andrel types another message. "I saw you crying yesterday." Tara looks surprised. "So, you heard everything I said?" Andrel nods his head. He silently comforts her, letting her know that she's not alone. Meanwhile, Belle and RJ are discussing Andrel's condition. At the same time, Belle's uncle learns a horrifying truth. The man who was shot during that robbery was Andrel, Dev's own brother. The moment he realizes this, he's completely shocked. Just then, RJ sees him looking terrified. Unable to keep the truth inside any longer, Belle's uncle tells RJ everything. He explains, "That day, I was forced to join the robbery because Belle was hospitalized with dengue fever, and I desperately needed money for her treatment." He continues, "Yes, I went there to steal, but I wasn't the one who shot Andrel. Another member of our gang pulled the trigger. Then, with tears in his eyes, he says, everyone else ran away after the shooting, but I stayed. I called an ambulance before I escaped. As he tells the whole story, he breaks down crying. RJ takes him to meet his father. Since RJ's father is a lawyer, the uncle hopes he might be able to help him. After listening to everything, RJ's father says, you need to tell Belle the truth. So Belle's uncle calls Belle and asks her to come over. When Belle arrives, his uncle confesses everything. He tells her, your treatment required a lot of money. That's why I borrowed money from those criminals. When I couldn't repay them, they forced me to take part in the robbery. Then he says with tears in his eyes, but believe me, I never shot Andrel. Hearing the entire truth leaves Belle completely stunned. That night, after returning home, Belle keeps thinking about Dev. Dev sends her message after message, wondering why she's suddenly gone silent. Belle desperately wants to tell him the truth, but every time she remembers her uncle's tearful confession, she loses the courage to say anything. So, despite reading all of Dev's messages, Belle doesn't reply to a single one. The next morning, Belle finally replies to Dev's messages. She says, sorry, I wasn't feeling well last night, so I couldn't reply, and I'm not coming to school today. As soon as Dev reads the message, he immediately calls Belle. He tells her to take good care of herself, take her medicine on time, and get plenty of rest. Seeing how much Dev genuinely cares about her makes Belle feel even more guilty. With tears in his eyes, she quietly says, I really love you. Dev smiles and replies, I know, and I love you so much too. Later, Belle goes to RJ's house because her grandmother has fallen sick from constantly worrying about her son. While Belle is there, Dev sends her another message asking, how are you feeling now? Seeing how much Dev still cares about her makes Belle break down in tears. She had promised Dev that they would never hide anything from each other, but now she's forced to keep the biggest secret of her life. Just then, RJ walks over and tries to comfort her. That night, after returning home, Belle has a terrible nightmare. In her dream, Dev learns the entire truth and walks away from her forever. The nightmare feels so real that Belle starts crying in her sleep. Hearing her sobbing, Belle's father rushes into the room, hugs her tightly, and asks what happened. But Belle can't bring herself to tell her father anything. The next morning, Belle sends Dev a message saying, I want to tell you something tomorrow. The following day at school, Dev happily runs over and gives Belle the cutest hug. Then he asks, so, what did you want to tell me? Belle replies, can we go somewhere else? Dev is surprised. Right now? Belle nods. Yes. So the two of them secretly leave school and head to a quiet hill. As soon as they arrive, Dev realizes that Belle is carrying a huge burden. He can clearly see the worry on Belle's face, but instead of forcing her to explain, Dev gently says, when you're ready, you can tell me. At the same time, Tara goes to visit Andrel. During their conversation, we finally learn the truth. Tara's first love wasn't Lee. It was Andrel all along. Meanwhile, Kim is scrolling through RJ's social media profile. She keeps thinking about sending him a message but changes her mind at the last second. It slowly becomes clear that Kim is starting to develop feelings for RJ. After that, we see Dev's parents. They finally received a picture of the man responsible for shooting Andrel. Shockingly, the person in the photo is none other than Belle's uncle. Meanwhile, Dev and Belle are still spending time together. Just then, both of them receive phone calls at exactly the same time. Belle's uncle calls Belle. At the same moment, Dev's mother calls Dev. Belle's uncle says, the police know about me now, I have to run away. Meanwhile, Dev's mother tells him the man who shot Andrel was Belle's uncle. Hearing that completely shocks Dev. He immediately turns toward Belle and asks, is it true? Belle quickly replies, my uncle didn't do it. I've been trying to tell you everything, but I couldn't. Dev becomes angry. He says, so you already knew? Then why didn't you tell me earlier? He continues, we promised we'd never hide anything from each other. Don't you trust me? Why didn't you tell me the truth? Belle keeps apologizing over and over again. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry, but Dev is too hurt to listen. He walks to the car and breaks down in tears. Meanwhile, Belle stands alone in the pouring rain, crying helplessly. A few moments later, Dev comes back carrying an umbrella. He's still angry, but no matter how upset he is, he still loves Belle. He could never leave Belle standing alone in the rain. So without saying much, Dev takes Belle home. Even during the drive, Belle keeps apologizing, but Dev remains completely silent. After dropping Belle off, he leaves without another word. Back at home, Belle cries uncontrollably. Her father, who already knows everything that happened, stays beside her and tries to comfort comfort her. Meanwhile, when Dev gets home, his father starts saying terrible things about Belle and her uncle. Dev doesn't argue. He silently walks into his room and cries alone. A little later, his mother comes in. She gently says, "I think Belle is telling the truth, but the police already have evidence, so there's nothing we can do right now." Hearing that only makes Dev cry even harder. The next day, Andrel is finally discharged from the hospital and returns home. All of Dev's friends come to visit him. During this gathering, another important truth is revealed. Andrel had also been in love with Tara. In fact, on the night of the shooting, he had planned to confess his feelings to her. But before he could do that, Dev called him to the bar and everything changed. Because of that incident, Andrel never got the chance to tell Tara how he truly felt. Later at school, Dev approaches Belle once again. He says, "Please, tell me the truth. Where is your uncle now?" Belle honestly replies, "I don't know." But this time, Dev can't believe her. An argument breaks out between them. In the heat of the moment, Dev angrily calls Belle a liar. Those words deeply hurt Belle. After school, Belle goes to the same place where Dev had once taken her. This time, RJ accompanies her. Unable to hold back her emotions anymore, Belle starts crying. Just then, Dev arrives. When he sees RJ standing beside Belle, he immediately asks, "What are you doing with him?" Belle replies, "What else was I supposed to do? I wanted to talk to you, but you don't even believe me anymore." Dev answers, "So every time something goes wrong, you'll go running back to your ex? I'm your boyfriend." Belle looks at him with tears in her eyes and says, "After everything that's happened, do you really think our relationship is still normal?" Dev quietly asks, "So, do you want to break up with me?" Belle doesn't answer. Seeing the tension between them, RJ tells Belle that they should leave. However, Dev asks Belle to come with him instead. He takes Belle to a nearby cafe. There, Dev sincerely apologizes. He says he's sorry for doubting Belle and for hurting her so much. Belle apologizes as well. Then Dev looks at her and says, "No matter what happens, we're not going to let our relationship fall apart." Belle immediately agrees. For a moment, it feels like everything will be okay again. But when Dev returns home, his father tells him to break up with Belle. He explains that if Dev ever learns anything important about Belle's uncle, Belle might accidentally warn her uncle and help him escape. At the same time, Belle's father gives her exactly the same advice. He also tells Belle to break up with Dev so that Belle won't accidentally reveal any information about her uncle to Dev. Hearing this leaves Belle completely devastated. She immediately calls Dev and tells him what her father said. Dev then tells Belle that his own father gave him the exact same warning. After talking everything through, Dev and Belle come up with a painful decision. They decide that they'll continue dating, but only in secret. In front of everyone else, they'll pretend they've already broken up. On top of that, they promise never to discuss the case with each other again. Belle agrees, even though she knows how difficult it's going to be. A little later, Dev's father announces that the police have finally found Belle's uncle's location. However, he refuses to reveal the location in front of Dev because he no longer trusts him. At that moment, Dev's mother says, "Don't worry, Dev already broke up with Belle." After hearing that, Dev's father finally reveals where Belle's uncle is hiding. The next day, Dev secretly meets Belle. While talking to her, he accidentally reveals the location of Belle's uncle. Then Dev says, "If your uncle really didn't do anything, why is he running away?" Belle replies, "Because his boss is a very dangerous man. If he finds out where my uncle is hiding, he'll kill him." Later, Belle returns home and notices that her grandmother looks extremely worried. Trying to comfort her, Belle says, "Don't worry, uncle is safe." But without realizing it, she accidentally tells her exactly where her uncle is hiding. The following day, it's time for the basketball match between Dev's team and RJ's team. Both of their families come to cheer them on. During the match, Belle's uncle sends a message to Belle's grandmother saying, "I'm okay, don't worry about me." His grandmother quickly replies, "The police have already found your location. Run away immediately." Unfortunately, Dev plays terribly during the match. Because of that, RJ's team wins. After the game, Belle and her grandmother go to meet Dev's father. They beg him to withdraw the case against Belle's uncle, but he refuses to listen. Just then, the police call Dev's father and inform him that Belle's uncle has escaped. He's completely shocked. Almost instantly, he realizes someone must have leaked the location. Without hesitation, he blames Dev. He becomes furious and starts yelling at him. Dev can only stand there in complete shock. Seeing this, Belle steps forward and says, "Dev didn't tell my uncle anything. I was the one who accidentally told my grandmother." Hearing those words hurts Dev deeply, because once again, Belle broke the promise they made to never hide anything from each other. The next day, Dev meets Belle. With tears in his eyes, he tells Belle that they should break up. Belle is completely heartbroken, but she also understands exactly how Dev feels, so she quietly accepts the breakup. Before leaving, Belle takes off the promise ring that Dev gave her. She leaves it behind and walks away in tears. Dev also breaks down crying. For both of them, this is the most painful decision they've ever made. But for the sake of their families, they believe they have no other choice. 1 week later, every student we see in the classroom has broken at least one school rule. As punishment, the teacher locks all of them inside the classroom for the entire day. Since they have nothing else to do, everyone starts confessing why they were punished. Yukiro goes first. He admits that he publicly announced over the school speakers that he loves Anna. That's why he received punishment. Meanwhile, Anna got into a fight with another girl, so she was punished as well. Then Tara shares her story. She says, Andrel came to school to ask me to be his partner for the farewell party. I said yes. Then he picked me up in his arms and started spinning me around. He was just about to do something romantic when the teacher caught us. The moment everyone hears that, they immediately start teasing Tara by chanting Andrel's name. Next, Dev says, I pulled the fire alarm and escaped from school. That's why he ended up getting punished. Then it's Belle's turn. She says, I attended Kim's grandfather's seminar. He started saying terrible things about my uncle, so I couldn't stay quiet. I talked back to him. Kim immediately gets angry. She says, my grandfather isn't a bad person. Why would you say something like that about him? Belle answers, my uncle isn't a bad person either. He never shot Andrel. Kim replies, but he still went there to steal. Belle doesn't deny it. Instead, she says, yes, he did. He did it because of me. At that time, I had dengue fever. If my uncle hadn't brought back that money, I would have died. After saying those emotional words, Belle becomes angry and walks out of the classroom. Dev immediately follows her. The two of them step into the elevator together. Suddenly, the elevator stops working. They're trapped inside. They shout for help several times, but nobody hears them. With nothing else they can do, they simply sit down and wait. After a long silence, Dev softly says, I'm sorry. I didn't know your uncle stole because he was trying to save your life. Then he quietly adds, I've missed you so much these past few days. Belle has missed Dev just as much. Hearing those words brings tears to her eyes. Wanting to cheer Dev up, Belle takes out a cookie and gives it to him. Meanwhile, back in the classroom, everyone gets bored, so they secretly sneak out without the teacher noticing and start having fun around the school. A few moments later, the school bell rings. That means the teacher is about to return. Everyone immediately starts running back toward the classroom. At the same time, the elevator finally starts working again. When the doors open, Belle has injured her leg. Without thinking twice, Dev lifts Belle into his arms and starts running with her toward the classroom. For the first time in days, Dev has a genuine smile on his face. While being carried, Belle notices something. Dev is still wearing their promise ring around his neck. Before the teacher arrives, everyone manages to return to the classroom, quietly sits down in their seats, and pretends that nothing ever happened. After everyone quietly returns to the classroom, the teacher comes back. Seeing how calm they all are, the teacher assumes they must have been bored after sitting in one room all day. So instead of punishing them further, the teacher gives them a short lecture and lets everyone go home. Of course, the teacher has absolutely no idea that they had secretly spent the whole time running around the school and having fun. As everyone is leaving school, Dev suddenly receives a mysterious message. It says, I have the complete video of what happened that night. If you want it, come and meet me. The moment Belle reads the message, she immediately says, I'm coming with you. Later that afternoon, Belle is busy working her part-time job at the cafe when Dev suddenly arrives. He tells Belle, the person just contacted me, we have to leave right now. Without wasting any time, Belle goes with him. A little while later, RJ comes to the cafe looking for Belle. Coincidentally, Kim is there as well. When Kim sees RJ, she asks, did you come here to see me? RJ immediately replies, do I seriously have nothing better to do than come here for you? Then he asks the cafe owner where Belle is. The owner tells him, she just left with Dev. Hearing that, Kim becomes worried. She says, I think they're going to get back together. We have to hurry. RJ doesn't really want to go, but Kim practically drags him along. Meanwhile, while driving, Dev asks Belle, if your uncle is proven innocent, can we continue our relationship? Belle quietly answers, no. Dev is surprised and asks why. Belle finally opens up. She says, because our relationship doesn't have trust anymore. Then she continues, I've seen a side of you that I never wanted to see. When you get angry, you say really hurtful things to me, and you become jealous over RJ, even though you know I love only you. Hearing those honest words makes Dev realize how badly he hurt Belle. Just then, their car suddenly breaks down. It turns out the car had already been having problems for quite some time, but Dev never got it repaired. Belle immediately scolds him. What if something had happened while you were driving? Why are you so careless? Dev smiles slightly. So, you still worry about me. Does that mean we can start dating again? Belle replies, but you still don't trust me. Dev lowers his head and sincerely apologizes. I promise, from now on, I'll never misunderstand you again. Belle doesn't answer. Instead, she quietly starts walking away. Desperate, Dev calls out, "I love you, Belle. I can't forget you. And I don't want to. Please, give me one more chance." Hearing those heartfelt words, Belle can no longer hold back her feelings. She forgives Dev. The two of them slowly move closer, ready to kiss once again. But just like always, Kim and RJ suddenly appear out of nowhere. It almost feels like the director simply refuses to let these two have a peaceful romantic moment. Seeing Kim and RJ standing there, both Dev and Belle are completely surprised. Since Dev's car has broken down, the four of them travel together in Kim's car to meet the mysterious person who sent the message. When they arrive, they're shocked to discover that the person is Ellie. You might remember her from season 1. She's the same girl who once falsely claimed that she had spent the night with Dev, only for Dev to embarrass her in front of everyone. Dev immediately asks, "Are you playing games with us?" Ellie calmly replies, "No, I really have the video, but I'll only show it to you if you agree to become my boyfriend." The moment she says that, Belle gets furious. She steps forward and says, "Are you serious? I'm still standing right here." Ellie then shows them a small portion of the recording. It turns out that on the night of the shooting, her car was parked nearby. The entire incident was recorded by her dashboard camera. However, she refuses to show the complete video. Even when Belle begs her, she stubbornly repeats the same condition. "Dev has to become my boyfriend first." Watching her childish behavior makes Kim lose her patience. She suddenly snatches Allie's tablet, hits her, and runs away. After that, everyone gathers together and watches the full video. The recording finally reveals the truth. The person who shot Andrel was someone else entirely. Belle's uncle never fired the gun. Instead, he stayed behind and even called an ambulance before running away. At last, everyone realizes that Belle's uncle is completely innocent. The huge burden they've all been carrying finally disappears. The next day, Dev shows the complete video to his father. After watching it, Dev's father realizes he was wrong all along. He sincerely apologizes to both Belle and her uncle. Soon afterward, the real shooter is arrested by the police. Now every misunderstanding has finally been cleared up. Naturally, Dev and Belle couldn't be happier. Later, the two of them go out together to enjoy some peaceful time. They sit at a cafe, eat dessert, and enjoy ice cream together. While eating, a little ice cream gets stuck on Belle's lips. Dev slowly leans closer. Belle immediately closes her eyes, thinking Dev is about to kiss her. Instead, Dev smiles and says, "You've got ice cream on your lips." Realizing what happened, Belle becomes completely embarrassed. Dev can't help laughing at her adorable reaction. A little later, Belle quietly says, "When I'm with you, it feels like the whole world stops." Dev looks at her and asks, "Really?" Belle quickly becomes flustered and says, "No, I was just reading that somewhere." The two of them smile at each other. Later that day, while Belle is at home, she receives an important notification on her phone. A prestigious university in Japan has accepted her. Not only that, but she's also been awarded a full scholarship. At first, Belle is overjoyed, but only a few seconds later, her smile disappears, because accepting the scholarship means leaving the Philippines and leaving Dev behind. Meanwhile, Andrel suddenly starts suffering from severe headaches. He's rushed back to the hospital for another examination. After several tests, the doctors discover something heartbreaking. Andrel has a very rare brain tumor. If he doesn't undergo surgery, he won't survive. However, the surgery itself is extremely dangerous and could also cost him his life. Hearing this devastating news leaves everyone completely heartbroken. Despite the risks, Andrel bravely decides to go through with the operation. Before the surgery, he goes to meet Tara. After that, Andrel asks Tara to meet him alone. Looking into her eyes, he says, "I love you, but I don't want you to become my girlfriend." Then he continues, "If something happens to me, please don't spend your life suffering because of me." Hearing those heartbreaking words, Tara becomes emotional. Without saying anything else, Andrel gently kisses her on the forehead. The next day is the day of his surgery. Before going into the operating room, Dev comes to see him. Andrel quietly says, "If anything happens to me, please take care of Mom and Dad." Dev does everything he can to stay strong. He smiles and replies, "Nothing's going to happen to you. We'll take care of Mom and Dad together." Just then, Tara comes running into the room. With tears in her eyes, she says, "I don't want to hear anything about you leaving. As long as we're together, I want to be your girlfriend. So, will you be my boyfriend?" Those words leave Andrel speechless. After a moment, he smiles and agrees. Tara then shyly asks, "Can I have a hug?" Since Andrel is still too weak to stand, Dev and his father help him get up. Then Andrew wraps his arms around Tara. For a brief moment, everyone forgets their worries and smiles together. But sadly, that happiness doesn't last long. The very next day, Andrew passes away. Tara keeps calling his name over and over again, but this time, he never answers. The moment Dev realizes that his brother is gone forever, he completely breaks down. Soon afterward, Dev's parents arrive. When they learn that Andrew has passed away, they collapse into tears as well. The scene ends there. A few days later, we see how everyone is trying to cope with the loss. Dev completely shuts himself off from the world. He locks himself inside his room all day. He stops going to school. He doesn't even talk to Belle anymore. Dev's mother becomes extremely worried because he's barely eating anything. Unable to watch him suffer alone, Belle comes to visit him. When she enters the room, she finds it completely messy. So before doing anything else, Belle quietly cleans the entire room. Then she walks over to Dev and hugs him tightly. She gently says, "No matter what happens, I'll never leave you." Meanwhile, Tara goes to church to pray for Andrew. While she's there, she receives a message from Lee. Lee writes, "I'm sorry for leaving so suddenly. Things still haven't been solved here. My family needs me right now. But as soon as everything gets better, I'll come back to see you." Reading that message makes Tara even more emotional. After that, we see Kim waiting for RJ. RJ is surprised to see her. Kim says, "Now that Dev and Belle are back together, I don't have another chance anymore. I guess I'll have to attend the farewell party alone. But I don't really want to go alone. So, would you be my partner?" The moment those words come out, Kim becomes embarrassed. She quickly says, "Forget it, I didn't mean that. Besides, I don't need someone like you as my partner." Then she immediately walks away. RJ simply stands there smiling. It's pretty obvious that he's starting to like Kim as well. Meanwhile, Belle is preparing for another big change in her life. In just a few days, she's supposed to leave for Japan. Before leaving, she goes to meet her stepmother. Belle sincerely says, "When I came to this city, I thought I'd finally have a real family, but that never happened. I know that every time you see me, you remember my mother, and it makes you angry. But I've never hated you. I'm sorry for all the pain my existence caused you. My father misses you very much. So, please come back home." At first, she doesn't say anything. Belle sadly turns around to leave. But then Luna's mother suddenly stops her. She walks over and hugs Belle. With tears in her eyes, she says, "I'm sorry for treating you so badly." At that moment, Luna joins the hug as well. Then Luna's mother smiles and says, "From today onward, we're a family. And you're my child too." Hearing those words makes Belle incredibly happy. Together, they all return home. When Belle's father sees everyone together again, he can't hide his happiness. That very night is the farewell party. However, Dev doesn't show up. Everyone becomes disappointed. Thinking that Dev won't come, Belle makes a huge decision. She announces that she's canceling her plans to study in Japan. Her parents immediately ask why. Belle answers, "Because I don't want to leave Dev. He needs me right now. So, I'm not going to Japan." Meanwhile, Dev is sitting alone, looking through old photos and videos of himself and Belle. He misses her terribly. Just then, RJ and Kim arrive. Dev asks, "What are you two doing here?" RJ replies, "If not for yourself, then do it for Belle. She's in a really bad state. She's been crying because of you, and she even canceled her plan to go to Japan." Hearing that completely shocks Dev. At the farewell party, Belle is invited onto the stage because she's the top student in the class. She begins her speech by thanking everyone. Then she starts speaking directly to Dev. "Thank you for coming into my life. Thank you for making my life so beautiful. And thank you for loving me." Just then, Dev walks into the hall. The moment Belle sees him, her eyes fill with tears. Dev is equally emotional after hearing Belle's words. He walks up to Belle and says, "Please go to Japan and chase your dream. I'll be okay. Yes, I'll miss you a lot at first, but little by little, I'll learn to live with it. I'll wait for you. So, will you wait for me too?" After hearing those words, Belle finally agrees to go to Japan. The two of them embrace each other tightly. Dev gently kisses Belle on the forehead, then Belle kisses Dev on the cheek. Finally, the director gives us the romantic moment we've been waiting for all season. Seeing the two of them happy again makes both Kim and RJ smile as well. By now, they've both moved on from Dev and Belle. Maybe someday Kim and RJ will become a couple themselves. In the end, all of the friends spend one last wonderful evening together. Because this is their final meeting before everyone goes their separate ways. Before saying goodbye, Dev places the promise ring back on Belle's finger. And with that beautiful moment, this heartwarming drama comes to a perfect and happy ending.